I'm Liyana Hassanel, and this is Nightline. The top stories. Government finalizing EPF account to support facility program initiative. And highway users can pay tolls with debit credit cards by September 2023. Good morning. The government is finalizing the account to support facility program initiative for members with savings in the Employees Provident Fund, EPF, to obtain cash resources without having to withdraw from their EPF savings. The Finance Ministry in a statement said the initiative will provide facilities for EPF members to use their savings balance in account 2 as a backup to obtain financing from banking institutions. The ministry said the initiative will not burden the people, as the interest rate that will be charged by the banking institutions involved is expected to be between 4.0% and 5.0% per annum. It said the rate is significantly lower than the current market rate of personal financing from banking institutions, charged at around 8.0% to 15%. The initiative is also said to not contradict Section 51 of the EPF Act 1991. As the savings balance in account 2 is only used as a backup through withdrawals at retirement age. It added that the EPF will provide further details of the initiative in the near future. Meanwhile, the Finance Ministry also stressed that the government would not consider any additional withdrawals from the EPF savings, as the move had been introduced in the past to curb the impact of COVID-19. Earlier, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim stressed that the proposal to allow EPF contributors to use their savings as support for bank loans will not affect the investment pool and dividend payout. He also reiterated that the special facility did not violate the EPF Act and that the Finance Ministry had sought the advice of the Attorney General and EPF on the matter. The Prime Minister said this method of applying for bank loans would not jeopardize the interests of EPF members because they would continue receiving dividends on the savings used as support. He said the risk to the EPF was also minimal, as there would be returns of support in several years, even if a small number of contributors failed to pay back their loans.
Umpamanya RM50,000 sebagai pinjaman, tetapi dividen itu akan diberikan sepenuh ikut kumpulan asal, jadi tidak dipotong. Jadi oleh demikian KWSP merasakan dalam beberapa tahun pulangan itu dapat diperoleh, maka kalaulah ada beberapa jumlah kecil yang gagal membayar, dia tidak mengesankan parah kerana jumlah induk dan dividen sudah ditambah.
Datuk Seri Anwar said this in reply to a question from Sungai Besar MP Datuk Muslimin Yahya during the Minister's question time in the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday. 5 highways nationwide will begin implementing an open payment system by September. Works Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi said the change will allow users on the 5 highways to pay toll charges using debit and credit cards. Datuk Seri Alexander said the 5 highways are the Sungai Besi Expressway, the Ampang Kuala Lumpur Elevated Highway, the New Pantai Expressway, the Guthrie Corridor Expressway, and the Pulau Pinang Bridge. In a statement on his Facebook page on Tuesday, he said the implementation of the system is among the early initiatives towards the transition to the multi-lane free flow system, or MLFF, which is currently underway. He said the MLFF Proof of Concept POC will be undertaken before the end of October to assess the system before it is implemented in all highways nationwide. He said discussions over the proposed POC locations are ongoing and will be finalized soon. Datuk Seri Alexander said the implementation will open up more opportunities for e-wallet providers to participate and end the monopoly by touch and go. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim on Sunday had said that the touch-and-go monopoly of the highway toll payments would be reviewed, as the system has been in place for over 2 decades and appeared to have become technologically stagnant. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah hopes that Malaysia and Singapore can expand their collaborations in new and emerging areas, such as digital economy, green economy and food security. The King said Singapore has consistently remained as one of the country's top trading partners, with Singapore being Malaysia's second largest trading partner and vice versa.
It is our fervent hope that this close relation will continue to blossom to further strengthen the existing cooperation for the mutual benefits of our two countries and the people in the years to come.
Al-Sultan Abdullah said this at a state banquet in honor of Singapore President Halimah Yaakob and her delegation at Istana Negara on Tuesday. Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria was in attendance. The King firmly believed that the strong bond of friendship among Malaysians and Singaporeans would continue to be an important factor, forming the core of bilateral ties. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also called for both countries to continue to work closely in promoting the region's stability and security and making ASEAN a dynamic regional grouping. The state banquet was also attended by Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim and his wife Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and Cabinet Ministers. Also present was Media Prima Berhad Group Chairman Datuk Sri Dr. Said Hussein Al-Junid. Earlier, Halimah was accorded a state welcome at Istana Negara in conjunction with her maiden 3-day visit to Malaysia, which began on Monday. The welcoming ceremony at the parade ground began with the singing of the Singapore and Malaysian national anthems by the Royal Malaysian Air Force Central Band, followed by a 21-gun salute.
Ayo semarakkan sokongan anda untuk Harimau Malaya. Siri Persahabatan Antarabangsa. Secara langsung hanya di TV9 dan Astro saluran 149.
Filling out paperwork, obtaining licenses. Having multiple people or committees approve a decision that delays almost everything. Are these excessive, rigid or redundant? The Prime Minister says Malaysia can be great again. But then, what does it take for the nation to cut red tape and bureaucracy? Join us on Money Matters this Saturday at 5 p.m. only on TV3.
The implementation of flood mitigation projects will be expedited to reduce the impact of the disaster in the country. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who is also Finance Minister, said Treasury Secretary General Datuk Johan Mahmud Merakan had been instructed to take action to expedite the flood mitigation projects.
Saya minta perbendaraan KSP pada untuk menyegerakan proses tender segera supaya dapat mengurangkan tekanan untuk tahun-tahun akan datang, insya-Allah.
The Prime Minister said this when flagging off the post-flood civil service volunteer team to Johor in Putrajaya on Tuesday. A total of 1,520 civil servants representing various ministries, departments and government agencies are participating in the 2-day post-flood mission, particularly in areas in the Batu Pahat district. The operation involves a total of 153 vehicles, including 26 buses, 8 lorries, and 64 four-wheel drive vehicles. Datuk Sri Anwar also expressed his appreciation to the civil servants participating in the post-flood mission in Johor. According to a statement issued by the Prime Minister's department in conjunction with the event, the mission will focus on the cleaning of medical and educational facilities, government buildings, and public places. On March 17th, Datuk Sri Anwar had instructed all ministry machinery to help in post-flood operations in Johor and said that the Finance Ministry had approved an additional allocation of 150 million ringgit for the purpose. In other news, the government will be setting up a Madani Council to further promote the Unity Government's Malaysia Madani concept. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the council, to be chaired by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, would be established to further promote the Madani philosophy.
Majlis Madani secara resminya akan dipengurusikan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri sendiri, dan di sana banyak bukan hanya soal falsafah dan konsep, tetapi program-program yang akan dilakukan. Kita tunggulah hingga Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri membuat pengumuman terhadap keputusan-keputusan kepada mesyuarat Majlis Madani berkenaan.
He expressed his certainty that people of all ethnicities and religions will support the formation of the Madani Council once its concept and philosophies are understood. Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said this after officiating the closing ceremony of the Islamic NGOs Unity Convention 2023 at Tenera Hotel in Bangi on behalf of the Prime Minister. Perikatan Hassanel has rejected Parti Pejuang Tanah Air's application to join the coalition. PN Secretary-General Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin said this was decided during the coalition's Supreme Council meeting on March 20th, chaired by its chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. Earlier, Pejuang President Datuk Sri Mukhris Mahathir said it had applied to join PN as a component party after evaluating all existing political coalitions and cooperation in the country. Meanwhile, Pejuang in a statement said it was dismayed by PN's decision. Its Secretary-General, Datuk Amiruddin Hamzah, said the party would now focus on mobilizing its machinery in preparation for the impending state elections. The Transport Ministry has instructed that all commuter stations must be equipped with lifts within the next year. Transport Minister Anthony Loke said big stations still without this facility will be given priority under the first phase of the project. He said this target had been set for the Railway Assets Corporation, RAC, to speed up the process of installing lifts at stations which still do not have this facility. He said this was because there had been frequent public complaints that the lack of lifts at commuter stations had inconvenienced travellers, especially persons with disabilities, senior citizens and pregnant women.
Biasanya ada jambatan. Okay? Mesti ada jambatan untuk cross. Tapi jambatan ini untuk orang biasa bolehlah. Tetapi untuk OKU, untuk golongan warga emas, untuk wanita mengandung, dia menyusahkan. Dan ini memang feedback yang selalu saya terima daripada penumpang.
He said this when launching the Railway Assets Intelligence System Rails mobile app, which was developed by RAC. Loke said the RAC had been directed to prepare an audit report together with Kereta Api Tanah Melayu Berhad KTMB for urgent submission to the ministry regarding stations which should be given priority in the provision of facilities. He also instructed for the audit report to be submitted to the ministry within a month. Philippines found sunken fuel tanker 3 weeks after spill. This and more from the foreign front when we come back. The foreign news. Pakistan's parliament is to meet in a special joint session on Wednesday to take important decisions to enforce the state's authority in the midst of prolonged anti-government defiance by former Prime Minister Imran Khan. The Office of the Speaker of Parliament, in calling Wednesday's joint session, did not give a reason, but the state-run Associated Press of Pakistan, APP, said the ruling coalition had called for Parliament to take important decisions to ensure the writ of the state was enforced. The APP, reporting on a meeting attended by Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and his cabinet, cited the participants as saying Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf (PTI) was not a political party, but rather a gang of militants, and its enmity against the state could not be tolerated. Parliament will meet in the capital, Islamabad, as Khan supporters gather for his latest rally in the eastern city of Lahore. Thailand's Election Commission on Tuesday announced that the country will hold elections on May 14th, a day after the parliament was dissolved. The country's Election Commission Secretary General, Sawang Bunmi, said the early voting will take place on May 7th, while candidate registration, including for party nominees for Prime Minister, will take place in early April. He added that the Commission will endorse at least 95% of votes within 60 days after the poll. The race is shaping up to be a battle between a pro-military conservative grouping led by the incumbent Prime Minister Prayuth Chan-o-cha against the largest opposition Pheu Thai party led by the billionaire Shinawatra family. The announcement came as parties step up campaigning for a nationwide contest for the support of about 52 million eligible voters. Indonesia's parliament on Tuesday voted to pass President Joko Widodo's emergency decree to cement rules on investment and jobs in Southeast Asia's biggest economy, replacing a similar 2020 law that had been ruled partially unconstitutional. Tuesday's passage of decree meant most of the changes brought about by the law would stay, with some small changes on labour rules. The changes under the 2020 law include cuts in severance benefits, new minimum wage limits, removal of some mandatory paid leave, and looser rules on environmental inspections for investment. It also revises more than 70 other laws, which has been praised by foreign investors for streamlining business rules, but also criticised by labour and green groups as being too pro-business. The Indonesian Employees Association welcomed the passage for bringing legal certainty, but noted that businesses still disagreed with some parts of the law, such as the minimum wage formula. The Princess Empress oil tanker that was carrying 800,000 litres of industrial fuel oil has been found on Tuesday after sinking off the central island of Mindoro almost 3 weeks ago. According to the governor of Oriental Mindoro, the tanker was found by a Japanese remotely operated underwater vehicle, nearly 400 meters below the waves. Oil has been spotted as far away as Cassian Island, off the north coast of the western island of Palawan, about 350 kilometers southwest of where the tanker sank. As feared, oil has also drifted north to Verde Island Passage, a busy sea lane between Mindoro and the Philippines' main island of Luzon. Tens of thousands of people have been affected by the spill, with scores falling ill and the government now distributing food packs and other assistance. sports, the Argentine Primera Division. Newell's Old Boys upset the odds at the Estadio Marcelo Bielsa with a 1-0 win over second-place San Lorenzo in the Argentine Primera Division. A poor first half saw both sides struggle to get into any rhythm, but Jorge Recalde pounced in the 77th minute to give Gabriel Heinz's side a 1-0 lead. This seemed to spur San Lorenzo into action, but despite a few chances to equalize, the home side clung on to subject San Lorenzo to only their second defeat of the season. Still on football. England trained at St. George's Park on Wednesday afternoon ahead of their Euro 2024 qualifying matches against Italy and Ukraine. The Three Lions were without Marcus Rashford, Mason Mount and Nick Pope, who all pulled out through injury. Tottenham goalkeeper Fraser Forster was called up to replace the injured Pope. The two matches are England's first games of the qualifying phase. On paper, they are also the toughest, the others coming against North Macedonia and Malta. They will be the first competitive fixtures that England have played since exiting the World Cup against France in Doha. Coming right up, man sentenced to 33 years for sexual assaulting teen. Welcome back. A gas station owner was fined 40,000 ringgit by the Johor Bahru Sessions Court for allowing a vehicle with a foreign registration number to be filled with RON 95 petrol at the station 4 years ago. This is said to be the first case involving the offence to be brought to court. Judge Datuk Cik Wan Zaidi Cik Wan Ibrahim meted out the fine in default of 5 months in jail against 59-year-old Fan Chip Chan, who pleaded guilty to the charge. Fan was charged with failing to comply with the ban on the sale of RON 95 petrol to foreign-registered vehicles. He had allowed a foreign-registered BMW car to fill up 54 litres of RON 95 petrol worth 114 ringgit and 30 cents at the petrol station at Jalan Tun Abdul Razak on May 13, 2019. In doing so, the father of 2 children had violated Regulation 12A of the Control of Supplies Regulations 1974. Earlier, the court was told that Fan had been previously given a compound notice for a similar offence. Meanwhile, Johor Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Director Lilis Saslinda Purnomo informed the media that the department is currently investigating 22 other cases of RON 95 sales to foreign vehicles. Commenting on the matter when met by reporters at the court lobby, she said a total of 6 petrol station owners have also been given total compound notices worth 10,000 ringgit for the same offence from January to March 20th of this year. In Pulau Pinang, an insurance agent was sentenced to 33 years in prison and 24 strokes of the cane by the Georgetown Sessions Court on Tuesday on 3 charges of sodomy, sexual assault and recording pornography involving a teenage boy 4 years ago. Judge Mazdi Abdul Hamid handed down the sentence after the accused, Ahmad Jalaluddin Rahumatullah, aged 36, was found guilty on all charges based on the prosecution's case. On the first and second charges, Ahmad Jalaluddin was charged with committing sexual assault and sodomy on the victim, who was 14 years old at the time. The offence was committed in Taman Desa Mawar in December 2019. The accused was also charged with making pornographic recordings of the victim at the same location and date. Judge Mazdi sentenced the man to 18 years imprisonment and 14 strokes of the cane for the first and second charges. For the third charge, the court imposed a sentence of 15 years in prison and 10 strokes of the cane, starting Tuesday without suspension. According to the facts of the case, the accused befriended the teenager by disguising himself as a woman on social media before luring and exploiting the victim. In Pulau Pinang, a married couple was charged in the Butterworth Sessions Court on Tuesday with trafficking their daughter, who is a person with disabilities, for sexual exploitation. The accused, the victim's 63-year-old stepfather and 40-year-old mother, claimed trial after the charge was read out to them before Judge Nur Aini Yusof. The couple were charged with trafficking the 20-year-old learning disabled person for sexual exploitation at Rumah Bangsa Desa Wawasan, Bukit Mertajam between January and February last year. The charge under the Anti-Trafficking in Persons and Anti-Smuggling of Migrants Act, ATIP Som 2007, read together with the Penal Code, provides life imprisonment or not less than 5 years and also whipping if found guilty. The court allowed them bail of 15,000 ringgit with one surety, and they were ordered to report themselves at a police station once a month and to surrender their passports to the court. The court set April 20th for mention. The Home Ministry has confirmed that it received a report of a viral video showing 2 men allegedly insulting Prophet Muhammad. Its Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said police are currently carrying out an investigation into the clip that has gone viral on social media. He stressed that the Home Ministry takes the issue seriously and will give priority towards the case, which has been described as unhealthy with regards to the context of religious practices in the country. He said the initial process of the investigation will focus on efforts to identify the perpetrators in the viral video. Earlier, the 52-second video had been making its rounds on social media, showing 2 men allegedly insulting Prophet Muhammad. Art Basel Hong Kong, Asia's largest art fair, opened its doors for the first time on Tuesday since the country dropped all pandemic-related. A total of 177 galleries from 32 countries and territories are taking part in the 5-day event. Let's take a look as Nightline draws to a close this time around. I'm Liyana Hassanel. Thank you for your company and be well, Malaysia.